What's going on, everyone? So today we're going to talk about an easy money setup. It was actually a short setup that happened on Tesla, June 23rd, 2023. Now, when I say easy money setup, it's just something that is in my playbook. These are the kind of trades that I look for. They don't happen every single day, but when they do and everything lines up, they can work really well. So there were a lot of factors that play into this and the reasons why I think it worked. And when everything kind of checks the boxes, that's when I feel good about a trade working or a setup actually having follow through, especially in a very back and forth market. Today happened to be one of those days, so I want to go over everything. But before I do that, I want to do a quick shout out. I want to thank you, Kalshi, for sponsoring this video. So if anybody is interested in what this is, Kalshi is a very unique company. It allows you to trade on the outcome of events. So similar in ways to the stock market, where we're basically trading stocks and whether or not they're going to go up or down, this is trading on the outcome events on whether or not they're going to happen. And there are a lot of different things you can trade. Just for example, as far as economics, US core inflation year over year, US annual inflation, US inflation year over year, and Fed funds highest rate. And some more examples in financials, the S&P 500 daily close, the NASDAQ 100 yearly close, 10-year Treasury daily yield, and WTI oil daily settle. And when you log into your account, this is what it looks like. I actually had put a trade on in my earlier video, so I have some funds that are put to work because there's 150 bucks in here. These are all the different things that you can choose to trade. And just to show an example of what that looks like, I'm going to go into the S&P 500 yearly close, say that it's going to close that 4,500 to 4,700 range. So I think it's going to, just because it's been very bullish. So we'll say 10 contracts just to put on a very small trade. The cost is going to be $2.06, and the max profit is going to be $7.94. So review the order, and then I'm going to submit it. And then the funds get deducted from my account, and it's easy as that. So a very cool company that allows you to trade on the outcome of events. I appreciate Kalshi for sponsoring this video. If you're interested in signing up for an account, there's going to be a link in the description below. So now let's get into the actual trade. So what happened on this day? Why was Tesla at the top of the watch list? So that prior day, very big green candle, bullish candle off the 9 EMA. This was the 22nd. And the morning of the 23rd, the overall market was trading lower. So you have the market trading lower and you had Tesla trading lower. So you have kind of wind at Tesla's back as far as the short-term direction of the market. Yes, Tesla has been very strong to the upside recently, but the reason why it was so interesting to the downside possibly today is because it got a downgrade. So it was trading lower, very extended on the daily, felt like eventually it was possibly due for a pullback. You got a lot of buyers in this candle. So if it happens to gap down and kind of stay weak, maybe people who chased in this day, maybe want to stop out of their positions. As it starts to go lower, they feel a little bit of pain, think that, hey, I probably got in a little early. Let's get out of the way. And then I can always reevaluate the stock. So you had a lot of things lining up. You had a negative news catalyst on a stock that was very extended to the upside. You had it trading lower in the pre-market. And you also had the overall market that was trading lower as well. So everything kind of checked the boxes. Now it was just about whether or not it was going to have some sort of pattern to be able to take that trade and execute it accordingly. Because even though there's the possibility that it may go lower, I don't want to short just because. I want it to tell me what it's doing, have that price action, show some weakness, break some levels, and then that's where I want to consider taking the trade. So now let's look at the intraday action. So if you look to the right, this is going to be the intraday chart, and that baby blue line is going to be pre-market low. I'm a big fan of focusing on 4 levels each and every day. I look at previous day's high, previous day's low, pre-market high, and pre-market low. And then just for the visual of this video, this baby blue line, this is pre-market low. So there was a major technical level to the downside. If it were to break that pre-market low with everything else, as far as the boxes being checked, the negative news catalyst weak on the day, and the overall market being weak, if it can break that pre-market low, start to get some momentum to the downside, maybe it could sell off. So what happened off the open? So there was a really strong push off the open from 259, got above VWAP, kind of consolidated above VWAP, found some resistance at the whole number 262, and then started to show weakness, and then got below VWAP. So if anybody kind of chased this off the open, because a lot of times the gap downs on Tesla, they've been getting bought up, and if people just blindly bought it thinking that it had to go higher, then all of a sudden now there's an inflection point, which is at that low a day, 258.89. So you have low a day at 258.89, which also coincides with pre-market low, a technical level. A lot of times when low a day or high a day is close to pre-market high or pre-market low, that can cause for a big move, because if it breaks, then I would think momentum traders, whether they're stuck to the long side or even just short-term day traders, wanting to take the break of that technical level, that's when sometimes they can work really well. So now let's look at this with a few more minutes added onto the chart. So rolls over, breaks that VWAP, little bit of choppiness around VWAP, makes a lower high, still below high a day, and ends up showing more weakness, really now gets below VWAP. And I'm looking at this thinking if it can break that low a day, I think that's going to be a really good spot just because of everything else that I mentioned. And then here's how I see it. I'm going to try to anticipate that low a day break at 258.89, also knowing that there is a technical level below pre-market low. Now here's my mindset. Where would I possibly be wrong? I want this to go relatively quickly in my favor or just get out of the way, but I think VWAP is a good area. So 260, VWAP is a little above that, right around 260.10. If this were to get to that 259, get below it a little bit like it did here, reclaim it, and then start to get above that 260, I would think that would be the out because it was a fake breakdown. And if it were to get back above VWAP, maybe this could take out the high day and fill the upside gap. So I think I would be wrong right around that 260 area, a reclaim of VWAP, but it never did that. Sold off a little bit. It did bounce a little bit, but just got rejected very aggressively back at that low a day. So pretty clean break to the downside. And then once it gets away from that pre-market low, price starts to accelerate to the downside. And I'm always going to take profits as this thing moves lower. It's very hard to catch the whole move. But sometimes, something that I'm trying to incorporate or at least think of is that if there is a big move to the downside, maybe try to hold through that first bounce. But obviously, if that bounce is very aggressive to the upside, then I'm going to want to get out of the way. But at the very least, I usually end up taking profits into a wash. If for some reason I want to be extra patient because this is a really good looking setup and got that confirmation to the downside, I would think holding through the first bounce, and then once it starts to roll over again, there is a pivot high. And then once this starts to break this prior candle low, makes a new low on the day, that's going to be an area where I'm going to want to take profits no matter what. I rarely hold on to trades that long. If I get a break of that low and it starts to wash out and I'm 1-2 points in the money, I usually take that. But if for some reason I was a little bit more patient thinking, let's see if the first bounce fails. And if it does, the moment it makes a new low, starts to speed up to the downside, that's going to be where I want to take the whole position off because it's really hard to catch an entire move. And to me, this feels like the meat of it because a lot of times when you're too patient, I've noticed, especially in this market, it can bounce back on you and you can give away a lot of profit. So this ended up being an easy money trade, had everything at its back. The negative news catalyst extended on the daily, was trading lower in pre-market. The overall market was trading lower as well, had the push off the open, caught early buyers, did the downside opening range break after losing VWAP, broke the low a day, which also coincided with pre-market low. And once it cleared that out, had a big move to the downside. And as price starts to accelerate to the downside, I'm always going to be taking profits. It's pretty easy to miss more of the move, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to get the meat of it. And there was a lot of opportunity to the downside on Tesla this day. So that was a trade recap on one of my playbook setups. I'm interested to know what you think. Do you like this setup? And what are some of your favorite setups? Appreciate you watching the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.